Very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Ashinsani Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines for today. Merchandise exports grew by 6% and services sector grew by 26.9% during the first half of 2019, says Chairperson of Export Development Board. Sri Lanka to resume free on-arrival visa service from August. News in detail. The Cabinet of Ministers yesterday approved a proposal to re-implement the proposed free on-arrival visa program for tourists that was suspended due to Easter Sunday attacks in last April. Department of Government Information announced that free on-arrival visa will be issued to visitors from 46 countries, up from the initial proposed 39 countries. The Ministry of Tourism Development, Wildlife and Christian Religious Affairs initially had planned to introduce the free on-arrival visa program for tourists with effect from 1st of May in a bid to boost tourist arrivals during the lean months. However, the initiative was disturbed by the unexpected Easter Sunday tragedy. Accordingly, the ministry had again submitted the proposal before the Cabinet of Ministers to introduce the program with effect from the 1st of August. The number of countries initially selected for free visa on arrival was 39 countries, and this time 7 other countries have been added into the list. Among the new additions to the list are India, China and Russia. Meanwhile, the government also has plans to put in place a monitoring system which could prevent the entry of undesirable people into the country. Exports Development Board Chairperson and Chief Executive of EDB, Indira Malwatta, yesterday stated that the merchandise exports grew by 6% and services sector grew by 26.9% during the first half of the 2019 in comparison to last year. Speaking at a media briefing by the EDB, its chief Indira Malwatta also mentioned that the exports in 2019 first half grew at the rate of 11.4%, while the overall growth rate in the first half of the previous year was 10.9%.
If you see between merchandise and service, we have had a growth of 11.4%, and especially I must mention the service sector, which will one of these days actually overtake the merchandise sector. Now this is very significant to Sri Lanka because this is where our knowledge based, our young graduates, our young educated people can be engaged very gainfully, because merchandise will go on with manufacturing and we'll have to be competitive. Our labor rates are not definitely the cheapest in this part of the area. It is competitive because we pay our labor much more than what our competitor countries give. We have to look after our people, so you will see the service sector taking on. And when you look at the service sector, it covers from financial services, IT, BPO, logistics.
The Export Development Board on the Minister of Development Strategies and International Trade, Malik Samaravikrama, highlighted that Sri Lanka would probably end the year with $18.5 billion as export earnings, despite the initial objective of gaining an export target of $20 billion. Minister Samaravikrama made these remarks addressing a media briefing by the EDB to brief over the current status of the export rates of the country.
This year, exports have increased, and we must firstly congratulate all our exporters, our business people who have very bravely, courageously kept on doing their part of the job. And so far, up to end of June, our exports of goods and services are in the region of $8.5 billion. And although we had a very ambitious target of $20 billion for 2019, I believe we'll end up with about $18.5 billion. And when compared with the exports that we had in 2016, which was $13.9 billion, ending up with 18.5 this year, will mean a 33% increase in export value over the 3 years. So we must really congratulate our exporters and thank them for what they have done.
Minister of Development Strategies and International Trade, Malik Samaravikrama, also added that Sri Lanka needs to have an export turnover of $35 billion in order to recover the debts for this year.
So this year, I think we will end up, our exports will be around 20% of the GDP. So it is a good achievement, but nowhere where we want to be. I think our country to come out of this debt situation, we need to have export turnover of about $35 billion, and then only that we can be comfortable.
Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Launching the Kiran Sapiridak program at Kajugaswatta Shastrodaya Vidyalaya in Nivitigala, Ratnapura yesterday, President Maithripala Sirisena highlighted that it is imperative to empower and strengthen local dairy farmers in order to retain billions of rupees that we spend annually to import milk powder and to create a healthy young generation. The Kiran Sapiridak program, launched under Grama Shakti People's Movement together with Ministries of Education, Health and the Livestock Department and many other public and private stakeholders, will provide a packet of standard liquid milk instead of sweetened milk to around 600,000 selected primary students island-wide. Speaking further, President Maithripala Sirisena said that a healthy and intelligent nation is the victory of a country and also stressed the importance of promoting the consumption of liquid milk in the challenge of creating a healthy population. Furthermore, another key objective of the program is to reduce the poverty level in rural areas by achieving a good economic growth through strengthening the rural dairy farmers. The Cabinet of Ministers has approved a cabinet paper presented by the President and allocated 1,000 million rupees to initiate the program, and of the 1.7 million school children in grade 1 to 5 will receive a sachet of milk each on every school day. The 58th ACI Financial Markets Association World Congress will kick off from 3rd to 5th October in Colombo. The theme for this year's Congress is Discovering the Role of Markets in the New Paradigm, and it will be organized by the Sri Lanka Forex Association. The Congress will bring together a collective of influential financial market professionals, regional regulators, policymakers, think tanks, investors and corporates to discuss the theme of the year. Some of the topic areas of the plenary sessions are leveraging on Asia and the new Silk Route, cryptocurrency, blockchain and other fintech innovations, artificial intelligence, global market outlooks for 2020. Moreover, Governor of Central Bank Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, Minister of Economic Reform and Public Distribution Dr. Harsh De Silva and many other foreign experts like the Global Chief Economist of Standard Chartered Bank, David Mann, and Chief Economist and Head of Research Asia Pacific of Deutsche Bank, Dr. Michael Spencer, are some of the key speakers at the Congress. Addressing a media briefing held to announce the 58th ACI Financial Markets Association World Congress, Chairman of ACI FMA Bruno Langfritz appreciated Sri Lanka's efforts on conducting the Congress in Sri Lanka despite the recent Easter Sunday attacks. Chairman of ACI FMA also pledged to work broadly in future developmental programs with Sri Lanka.
When this sad incident happened, then everyone called me up and said, do we cancel the Congress or not? Then I have had several telephone conversations with Shanaka, the president. He had many telephone conversations with the Minister of Tourism, and all these things went very well. And I'm extremely happy and proud that they do not cancel the event, that the event really take place. I mean, it shows that you're proud what you have done, what you have achieved, and this can happen in any place in the world. And when I arrived this morning from Dubai, after a 2-hour sleep on the plane, I came to the immigration. It took me even less than a minute to go to immigration. Then I walked slowly to the belt, and boom, suitcase came there. Every people was very friendly. So I went out. Then there was the hotel there with the tag, with the Langfritz. He picked you up, and everything was done the perfect way. So if you can provide this kind of service during the World Congress, I mean, people have no reason not to come because you have a very beautiful country.
Sri Lanka Freedom Party claims that the efforts by the government to forget the infamous Black July incidents, which occurred sharp 36 years ago, cannot be admitted. Instead, they said that the party will organize a special remembrance program on next Saturday in Colombo, and that will be continued annually. UPFA parliamentarians Dayasiri Jayasekara, Angajan Ramanathan and Sri Lanka Freedom Party's former General Secretary Professor Rohana Lakshman Priyadasa told the media that the incumbent government is in an effort to hide the infamous blunder under a slogan of White July. The team, addressing the media at the SLFP headquarters this morning, said that history will never allow to forget such a brutal incident and the measures should be made available to learn lessons from those incidents to assure the reconciliation in the country. Here, UPFA parliamentarian Angajan Ramanathan, who was born in Jaffna just after 14 days of that incident, speaking to media.
People from the south, the Sinhalese people helped my parents to go back to Jaffna safely. So I would like to also mention that clearly. So it is not the people of the Sinhalese people who orchestrated this. It was orchestrated by one political group for their agenda. And I would like to remind that the current generation needs to be reminded about this. Basically, a lesson from history that we have to remember that again, when all this, after the April bombing, when all these people are talking about, racism and riots and all this, we have to remember that it has already occurred once and it should never happen again. It's not the Jaffna youth I'm telling about. I'm telling the youth in general. Basically, the current youth in general, because basically people have not been reminded of this occasion. If not, at least even a small riot like that in Kurunegala would not have happened.
We'll be back after a short break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The all-share price index gained 62.5 points to close at 5,745.97 and the S&P SL 20 gained 60.51 points to close at 2,810. The turnover was 1.1 billion rupees and over 43 million shares were traded. Up next are forex rates. That's all the news for today. Join us tomorrow at the same time. Until then, take care. Goodbye.